So today we've got post crash out Clarity Simon with the crazy post shower hair. Yesterday I made a video. I don't even remember the specific content. I know that I was distressing about my situation and my future and whatever, and I want to cover a bit about that now, but more generally speaking, just the concept of slowing down, not trying to speed run life and to do everything at once and to get everything exactly as I want it to, even though it doesn't have to be that way right away. It can take time. So, obviously, I want to expand on that. What an intro with no explanation. Today, I kind of processed things a little bit more. I ended up doing some work for that client this morning, which eased my strain a little bit. I looked at the work that I need to do. It wasn't as bad as I thought. I did some stuff to understand the work that I need to do. I also talked to the clients during the day, and we discussed that it wasn't actually a project that maybe I'd be doing right now anyway. So, as you can see, a lot of things kind of eased up, but it took quite a while. I think for most of today, I was kind of in that stress territory. Yes, I did do work this morning. I felt better already, better than yesterday. But as the day went on, a lot of questions about what's next, school, all this stuff, not knowing what to do. I do have some clarity on that. I do think I'm beginning to lean towards going to school. A lot of the resistance to going to school has to do with missing out on things that I want to do, places that I want to go in the next year, 2 years. Of course, there's also the question of, am I even going to get any results from school? Am I going to get a job or something is going to help me take care of myself financially while I'm in school? And there was something else. Oh, yeah, just the financial difficulty. I will have the opportunity for unemployment, but there's just questions of, am I going to have to save all my money, not meet friends, not date, not eat normal food like ramen eating? So all those questions did float around. I've considered them a bit more. And the answer, as it almost always has been the past 2 months, I've been realizing, and not just the past 2 months, but whenever I've undertaken something, the answer is slow down. It's not to feel like I have to get everything that I want to do in my life done right now at this age. Some things I'm going to miss, like certain places I want to go. If I go to school, I'm not going to be able to go to certain places and do certain things in those periods of my life. But potentially, by just taking things slow, I could set a foundation, whether that's through a job or something else, that allows me to do those things that I want to do after. And I can also maybe have time during the school experience to do cool things. Who's to say that those experiences at school are not going to be things that I like and that could value me? And I'm just really not happy with how my hair is looking right now at all. I haven't cut it in over 2 months. This needs a cut. I'll be cutting it next week. I plan to anyway. I lost my train of thought. I guess what I'm trying to say is things don't have to be perfect, and they're not going to be, but if you don't move forward at all, or you're kind of like stuck between all these different directions, you're really missing out on something. And yes, I have, like I mentioned in the career crisis video, I have been bouncing from thing to thing for many, many years. And I have, within that time period, experienced quite a bit, but I've also struggled quite a bit. And I think I could have gotten more out of my experiences, not only the really good ones, but also the mundane times, the more boring times. I could have gotten a lot more out of those if I just took things more slowly. I didn't stress about getting everything exactly at a certain time point. About, I think there were certain times where I was in 2024 where I was stressed about getting a job because there was this place I wanted to go to in January of 2025. That's an example that I'm talking about. I could have just gotten a job, delayed my trip to wherever that was. Now, That's not to say I had options to get a job necessarily. I tried to getting a job and struggled regardless. But whenever I was, interviewing, first interview, second interview, and considering what would happen, there was some stress coming up. Like, oh, if I get this job, it'll be nice to have a job, maybe, but I'm gonna miss on this trip that I have in January. You see, like, if I got a job in 2024, um, I could have had multiple trips on PTO. Maybe I would have gotten promoted by now and gotten better PTO at another company. Like, there's so many ways things can go. What I'm saying is the path does not have to be perfect. Life doesn't have to be speed run. There are certain things I want to do, but ultimately money and time are two of the most limiting resources. So if I try to optimize for experiences that take my money and time and don't give me back money and time, at least not reliably, then it's kind of like, I don't know, you're just not, it's not a good long term plan, I think. Now, in my particular situation, I'm pronging in two directions right now, and I kind of need to decide. It's like in Fast and the Furious, it's been a long day without you, my friend, and it's that scene where Paul Walker, R.I.P., and Vin Diesel go the two different routes. I'm kind of like in that middle point right now, and I need to decide. All right, well, which route am I going to take? And I said I'm leaning towards school. This is the thing. In an ideal world where success is guaranteed and I'm not going to have any stresses or financial stresses leading up to that, I'd prefer to do my own business right now because that gives me more flexibility and freedom. However, there is the financial stressor of making things work by August while also still having a full time job that I can't let go of until school starts because I need to have room for the unemployment. If I go all in and drop the job and work on the AI business, it's just a risk, and it's a risk that I'm not really willing to take right now. It's a calculated no thank you risk. My goodness, my arms are looking small. I gotta gain some weight and lift some muscles. My left bicep is way smaller. Look at that. This has been like since forever. Anyway, I need to gain weight, but that was a distraction. I don't know what I was talking about. Uh, yeah, I do know what I was talking about. The business. This is the thing about school. There's no guarantees, of course. It's totally possible that I go to school and don't get an internship in my first summer and don't get an internship or a job after I graduate. And yeah, that'd be pretty tough. I don't know what I'd do then. I'd probably become a dump truck driver, I guess. That's the ultimate dream, clearly, that I've been mentioning every video now for about a week. Honestly, I might actually do that if that happens, but that's always possible. Failing and not getting like a certain goal is always possible. I started the AI business and told my dad I'm not gonna work for him. My dad and I had a sort of discussion in February where he told me like, let me know within a month if you want to become a GC. Like, let me like still work with me, become a GC, or you can't do the same work you're doing now because we're not going to need it anymore. That's the reason I'm not doing work with him anymore mid August. And I made the decision to not continue with him on the basis of I want to try this AI thing. And if I were to do work with him, the kind of work he would be needing of me would be very restrictive. It would require me to commute a lot. It would require me to not be in my apartment like 4 days of the week, and it would require me to commit to projects. Which, looking at all of that, not a horrible thing. Committing to projects, as I've been speaking about here, that's not a bad thing. The 4 days a week like commuting situation, I would be allowed to be able to commute back to my place, but I wouldn't have much time after work with all the commuting and all that. That would be frustrating. I could move back to New Jersey. Like, there's ways around all this stuff, but I decided not to. I also want a different work environment. I've been doing work with my dad on and off for like plus years now, and it's just me and him for the most part. So I wanted to change, and I decided to say, hey, I appreciate it, but I'm going to try something else. And now that something else has, I've learned quite a lot. 2.5 months, I think now, approximately a bit more than 2 months, I would say at this point, of working towards the AI business. I've learned a lot. I've got a client, and now I'm at this place where it's like, I don't need to make the decision right now. Like, I think that's what I'm saying also is by going slow. In my case, I'm gonna keep slowly doing work for this client that I have now. Just keep it really chill, like not stressed, like I need to make work, I need to get work, I need to get work. Just kind of keep him and see how the experience goes. Maybe try a gig with him, 2 gigs. I'm also going to keep doing outreach for now, like, but I'm going to scale it down. I am running out of money to upfront that stuff. It does cost money to market. I use Upwork. That is not cheap, unfortunately. So that's true. There's some limits as for cost, but I will be scaling that down a little bit. I also have some other potential clients who I've been talking to for a couple of weeks. I'm going to reach out to them. Another thing, for example, I had a potential client reach out today where they're looking more of like an employee role, and they want a final interview with me. And honestly, at this point, I don't want to have an employee role but be a freelancer. If I'm going to be an employee, I want to be a full-time employee with benefits. That's not this case. They asked me for a final interview. I see no harm in trying and just, talking to them and seeing what they say, but I don't have to commit to that. And I think a lot of me was stressed out like, oh, this is an opportunity. Do I commit to this right now and go all in on the AI and drop my dad's work or do it part time? That was like an option I was considering today, and a lot of stress came up with that option, a lot of anxiety and sort of like rushing. Like, I want to go to this place in September and not go to school, and like, just slow down. I think I'm trying to loop the whole piece back together in here. It's just slow down, take your time. Life experiences, there's no limit to life experiences. There's going to be amazing experiences you miss. There's going to be amazing experiences you have. But if you're just constantly in your head, rushing all the time, frantically, even if you are in more experiences, you're not going to be experiencing them to your fullest. Plus, life is not all about peak experiences. I saw a clip from Chris Williamson's podcast a couple of days ago, and he had said that one of the main intentions of his podcast, which he got this idea from Tim Ferriss, is, human beings often try to optimize for peak experiences, but these things don't happen all the time. Really, if you want to live a happier, healthier life, you want to optimize for your average Tuesday is the word that the phrase that he used, and him and Tim Ferriss, I think, is where he got it from. So optimizing for your average Tuesday doesn't mean not having peak experiences. It just means take things slow, make things better step by step. Don't rush. A really good example of this, again, back to that online game I was playing, Star Wars roleplay. Here I go again, nerdy Simon. 1 year of my life played on an online Gary's Mod roleplay server. It was really fun, and I learned a lot. Still embarrassing to talk about, but I think it's worthwhile noting. In my process to rank up in this game, the first couple ranks, the enlisted ranks, the process of ranking up here was mostly just a matter of playing. I was addicted to this game at this point, so I was playing like 4 to 6 hours a day. It was too much, not necessary. There were people playing way less than me that I think progress at the same rate. The next couple ranks were my least favorite because they required more effort, like running trainings is what they were calling them. You have to organize like people, and it was just, for me, it was a bit of a pain. And I remember that stressed me out like a lot. And it's just a game, my goal was to get to the officer role, which the role was like very laid back, chill, a lot of moderation, basically. And eventually I got there. And when I got there, everything was amazing. In this case, though, I could have taken that same approach on my way there. Just slow down. There's no rush. I was always afraid. I remember to take breaks and not play the game because I wanted to progress. I wanted to get promoted. Are they going to promote me today? No. Tomorrow? No. Next week? No. Like, just slow down. Honestly, just slow down. And later on in that year, I applied to be like a leader of a battalion. And same problem there. I was like, oh my God, this is way more work than I thought it'd be. I want to get it all done right away so I can get out of here. But I wouldn't have wanted to get out of there quickly if I just took things slower and enjoyed my time. And, I'm not saying that it would be wise to keep playing a video game like that. I got out, but I would have had a more balanced outside life outside of the video game too if I took things more slowly. I would have done more. I ended up leaving. I look back and I would have rather stayed in that game longer, just like balanced it more with my life and not stress so much about trying to do all these things and be productive and get everything perfect. So, along with I suppose you could say, the lesson that I've learned the past 6 or so years of just doing something till it's done is slowing down. If I notice there's like panic arising or anxiety or like, man, I don't want to do this, let me just get it done with as fast as possible and then get out, or just get out without even trying, which has been a recent thing that has been happening. Just, okay, there's some pressure here. Slow down, understand why there's pressure, because it's my body saying something. In this case, with this AI business, a lot of the pressure wasn't even from this particular client. There was some stress as to, can I even do this? Of course I can. I tried it this morning and it was no big deal. But a lot of the stress was just financial. Like, I don't even know if I love this stuff, so why am I going to risk everything for it? Now that that's kind of like laid back, I'm like, okay, mind, chill out, just take a step back, take it more slowly. The stress is gone. It's the end of the day now. I feel great. I feel really good. You could argue, and this is like the counter thought that my mind has had. I may have mentioned, but last year, I actually already applied to school and was planning to go in August of last year. And I didn't go because I had a lot of sort of excuses in my mind, like, oh, there's no guarantee that this gets me a job and gets me security. And if I want to follow the educative path and just get IT certifications, and I delayed the school. So, same pattern last year that I'm learning from this year. Of course, there's no guarantees. Of course not. But same with the AI business. If anything, it's less guaranteed to make a stable income, at least, early on. Especially for someone like me. I'm not a person who, I thought I was a person who loves grinding ever since I was grinding for basketball back in high school. But repeated experiences tell me that's not true. I'm not a person who loves grinding incessantly. I do like grinding if I know that I don't have to commit to the grind. That's why I think I've loved gaming so much just throughout my life, is I can grind and then I can also be like, nah, screw this. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. There's no obligation, no financial or personal obligation. In the cases that there have been, like in that game, that Star Wars game where there was a whole community, that was stressful for me. But I've always loved grinding Dark Souls, for example. I've loved grinding RPG games, like Maple Story was a big one in my childhood. And these things I loved grinding because, like, there was no obligation, right? There's no need to grind. So there was no, like, if I wasn't feeling it one day, I could just not play if I didn't want to. Life is different. Work is an obligation, even if you love it. You have to show up and provide for people, even if you own your own business. At a certain point, you need to communicate with people and make sure that your services are providing, or else you're not going to get paid. So yeah, just take things more slowly. The experiences you want to experience that are exclusive to one path or another, they're not really as exclusive as you might think because there's more. Yes, maybe these specific experiences in this point in time are exclusive, but assuming there's no accidents and nothing crazy happens in the world, nothing, unfortunate, which these things do happen to people. People die early, people get into accidents, people get sick. Of course, you can't account for these things though. Most people get the chance to live, I think 70s, 80s. That's at least in the Western world, that's average age of lifespan is like 80 years old, around there. And who knows, that might get even longer. So I'm not saying that experiencing something when you're 80 or 60 is the same as experiencing something when you're in your 20s, but you still have your 20s, you still have your 30s, 40s. It's not a short amount of time. And something like school or committing to a job or even committing to building your own business, whatever one you prefer, or something else entirely, it's like 1 to 2 years, 3 years. It's just not that long. It seems like a long time, but it's really not. The past year has flown by for me, and there has been a lot of struggle throughout the year, but especially the first 3 months of when I moved to the city. That was a huge struggle, and still I look back and I'm like, it flew by. It flew by. So even if you struggle, it flew by. It flies by, especially as you get older. And I've been noticing this. It just the experience of time goes faster. So don't rush. I mean, don't rush. Life is moving fast, so savor every moment and like don't. This is advice to myself. I'm not telling anyone what to do, but I hope this resonates or at least gives you some insight. Maybe you have a different idea. Yeah, for me, just don't rush. Don't rush to get into something and don't rush to get out of it either. That's another thing. Don't rush to get out. Now that I'm thinking I'm leaning towards going to school, that doesn't mean that I have to stop with all my AI stuff. That doesn't mean I have to cut off my client. That doesn't mean I need to stop looking for other clients because who knows, like things can change. There's still 3 months to go until school begins, 3.5 months. You never know what could happen. Some crazy stuff could happen, or I could just get more experience, which could be really helpful for school or for life. I could make some more money, save some more money, which could help me at school. Who knows, man? Yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. I have a road trip tomorrow, so I'm not going to be making a video, and it's possible I'm not going to make a video on Friday either because I have a retreat this weekend. We will see. Maybe I'll go out like during the day and make a video. I don't really know yet, but if not, hope you guys have a nice weekend and later.